doing episode 1, season 1 of The Chosen. Now, I have Ava here, and this is Ava's first time watching The Chosen, and this is technically, I only have one episode left, and then I have finished the series. So I'm going back for the sake of this show to do a whole rewatch, and now I understand things so much more clearly. But Ava was just telling me that you actually found episode 1 a little bit difficult to get into.
I felt like the first half of it was just really dark, not much substance if you don't know the background of it, which I feel like I don't know where it's coming from, even though I went to a Christian school, was raised in the church. My stepdad was a pastor for 5 years of my life, and I was like, okay, I know Nicodemus. I feel like I would need more of a background to be more into it right off the bat. And the only reason I'm going to continue it is because I'm invested in this series as a whole, and I want to see where it goes. Otherwise, I don't think based off the first 2 episodes, I would be that intrigued to keep watching it.
See, I love this. This is like music to my ears because this is exactly why I have gotten so excited about this television show. So, of course, I went to Catholic school as well, and I know stories from the Bible, and plenty you're going to see throughout the series, but there's just something so different about seeing a face and putting a storyline into the timeline and seeing that character development and witnessing Jesus' story through their eyes. You are going to see a group of very imperfect people follow Jesus, and they're going to get angry with Jesus. I never thought about people getting angry with Jesus. Like, you have the Son of God standing in front of you, and you're angry at him. Everyone has been angry with God at some point in life because we don't understand why things are happening. Jesus can only share so much about what's going to happen. These disciples experience everything with Jesus. They laugh with him. I love watching them laugh with him. They joke around. They, of course, get angry. They feel left behind or confused. He speaks in parables a lot, and they don't really understand. You're seeing every single human emotion expressed to the living God, and it's kind of funny. We are actually introduced to, right off the gate, my favorite Bible character, which is Mary Magdalene. I have felt called to Mary Magdalene my whole life. I've always been just so obsessed with her, to the point where if you ask me the famous question of if you could sit down with like 5 people at a table, living or dead, who would it be? Mary Magdalene has always been at my table. So this show yes, I love her so much, and she's such a pivotal part. Like, she is one of the few individuals that followed Jesus from the beginning, witnessed him being crucified, and got to tell all of the disciples that Jesus has risen. Like, her story is so important throughout the Bible. We open up to that in The Chosen. So you see Mary Magdalene, who is possessed, and this is true. Like, it states in the Bible that she was possessed by 7 demons. And then on top of Mary, you're also going to get introduced to Matthew. I never knew how much I was going to love Matthew. He is one of my favorite characters.
He's funny.
He's adorable. He's so stinking cute.
He is cute.
And Matthew, actually, in the Bible, he has one of the most detailed recordings of Jesus' life. So his book of the Bible is very important. It might be one of the longest of the disciples. I have to do my research on that one. And Jesus does name him the recorder to go and make sure that his word is transcribed properly. Yeah. So Matthew's a great character, and in this first episode, you see that he's completely shunned by society. And that's not something I knew was a thing. If you were a tax collector and you were a Jewish tax collector, you were taking money from your own people and giving it to the Roman government. That was utter betrayal. He's someone who is obsessed with money, and because of his obsession with money, he doesn't really care or think about his relationship with God right now. He feels isolated. His parents have abandoned him. The Romans don't like him, the Jewish people don't like him, and so he really is on an island by himself. And then you're also introduced to Simon. Now, some of you might hear the name Simon and feel confused because Simon's not a name of one of the disciples. Are you aware?
Right, Simon
Okay.
and Peter.
Simon his name was changed, and you
Yeah.
will see that in the show. And that is a point of contention with all of the disciples, which is so fun to watch again because that jealousy factor comes in. All of the human elements to these men come into play. Simon and Andrew, who are brothers, are just drowning in tax debt right now. They're resorting to gambling and cheating in order to try to make money. They're also working on the Sabbath, which is against Jewish law. So they're sinful by nature. Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. Nicodemus is a religious leader. He is surrounded by wealth. He is admired by his community. He has everything he could possibly want. Yet when you watch his story right from the first episode, all you see is that his soul is seeking something further. And I think that goes to talk a lot about how we as individuals, as human beings, we are not enough by ourselves. Our soul seeks God because we were made to follow God. And you see that with Nicodemus. I think everyone feels in life is unworthy. And sometimes people choose to not have faith because they feel like God will reject them. And that makes me feel so sad. And I definitely have those moments in life where I'm like, I have sinned so much. Have I lost the chance of redemption from my God because I still continue to choose to sin? And I think that Jesus was so intentional with who he chose to be his disciples, because you do not see perfect people. You do not see religious leaders of Israel becoming disciples. As a matter of fact, those are like some of the biggest sinners because they believe that they're above everybody else and they look down on everyone and they stay away from sinners. However, you see Mary, Matthew, Simon, and Andrew all in the very first episode. These are some of Jesus' closest followers, and they do not live a pure life. I think that we all need to remember that Jesus told us that we are worthy. He will call us by name and that he knows us. And if we believe and ask for forgiveness, he will give that to us. And I think that we are filled with such shame that sometimes it's hard for us to believe it. I think we as humans have a harder time giving ourselves grace and forgiveness than God does for us.
Yeah.
Embracing forgiveness is just, it's very difficult, but it's not difficult to God. Going back to religious people avoiding areas like the Red Quarter, I had just mentioned that, very holy people in Israel, they avoid sinners. For instance, you see the Romans come to Nicodemus and they say, you need to come with us to the Red Quarter. You need to perform an exorcism on this woman.
Yeah, that was wild. I was like, wow, they're really gonna go there. I actually skipped through it because I was like, this is too scary. And it wasn't that bad, but
yeah.
Oh, I was like, oh.
Ava does not watch anything scary, so for her to watch an exorcism in the very first episode was very hard. It's almost over. There's only like 6 more exorcisms, and there are a couple more.
Oh,
but it's not that bad.
Okay.
So Nicodemus, he goes to the Red Quarter, and he's repulsed by these sinful people. You see sex slavery, the prostitution, drinking, all of these things being committed. Jesus would go there. I just want to iterate the fact that Jesus would go there. We sometimes think as Christians that we shouldn't surround ourselves with people who sin, but we forget that Jesus sat with sinners. And that you can't impact sin if you avoid people.
Yeah.
Making people feel alone and isolated is not the answer to bringing them to God. We, again, need people, we need a community, we need God. Jesus would walk right into that Red Quarter, and he would preach and he would heal. And these religious people obviously don't do that. They avoid it at all costs. So
I had never heard the term Red Quarter.
I hadn't either. It's kind of like the red light district in Amsterdam.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard it, but I'm like, I feel like I should know more about that too.
It's just like prostitution and drugs.
Okay.
So kind of honestly like this. I mean, sin lives on. So it's just kind of switched countries.
Okay.
Nicodemus then leaves the exorcism and he's fundamentally changed. He goes home and he's questioning all of these elaborate dinners and I think he actually calls it performing theater for Shabbat. He's looking around and he's like, this isn't what I think God is. He's questioning himself. And then his wife enters.
I know, she really came in like fired up.
Yeah, I mean, the lifestyle that he has provided her with has made her happy. He is this idolized person in society, and talking like that, she could be shunned. And so she was so blinded by possessions and social status that she wasn't actually listening. I will say he kind of disappears after a few seasons. I wish we knew more about what happened to him in the Bible, but some stuff happens and then he kind of goes away. I won't give too many spoilers. Mary goes through this exorcism and it doesn't work on her. So she goes to the bar. She has what she believes is going to be her last few drinks. And she goes to a cliff top. She is about to jump. God sends her a dove. She takes it as a sign to go home. She goes back to the bar. Jesus meets her there. He touches her hand and she looks up at him. And that look is just so powerful because it was a familiarity already. She was just paused when he touched her. And he said, I know you. And she shoves him off of her and she walks out of the bar. And he says to her, I have called you by name. And that was what the prophet Isaiah had said. It was what her father would continuously repeat to her during any time of worry in her life. I have called you by name. He calls her Mary Magdalene. And that stops her dead in her tracks. And he performs a miracle. And he heals Mary. And that is so beautiful. And in the next episode, you're going to find out that Mary is going to tell Nicodemus that Jesus does not want anyone to know that he healed her. He is not seeking any kind of notoriety. He is laying the groundwork of his followers to heal them. I just love Mary Magdalene. She's just, even this actress, I adore her. She's so precious. We also have to address Simon and Andrew. They talk about their expectations for what their Messiah will be. Expectation for Jewish men back then was a Messiah would be sent down and they would be this great warrior. The Messiah would lead the Jewish people to conquer over Romans to give them their freedom. So they believe that this person is going to come with a sword and just like battle all of these Romans and save them from this persecution. And that's obviously not what we're going to see with Jesus. He's the most peaceful human that's ever walked. Yeah. Interesting to hear Simon complain to his brother, like, where is this Messiah that's going to free us? He's going to get that freedom, but not in the way that you think it's going to be delivered. And isn't that just a beautiful word of God? You always ask for something and you think that you need to do X, Y, and Z to get there, but God always has a better way.
Yeah, I love that.
He's gambling, he's lying to his wife, he's fighting other men, he's betraying his fellow Jewish people, he's defaulted on all of his taxes. He's just all of the bad things right now. He's got a long hill to climb, but you'll get there. Okay. We will all get there with Simon around the time that he gets his name changed. So overall, seeing this first episode, how do you feel about it?
I wish I could have watched it with you and asked you questions live. There were a lot of things, even like when Mary was contemplating suicide, I was like, wait, is she possessed right now? Her reaction to Jesus in the bar, don't touch me, and then left. Wait, was that like a spiritual warfare going on right there? Like the demons that were possessing her were just so repulsed by the purity of Jesus that she just immediately had to leave.
I think that's a great theory.
I felt like the first episode was just a lot of history, the dynamics that are nonverbal.
I think that's great. I think that's a great starting point because there is so much complexity to. We're talking about thousands of years of the Jewish people being ruled over by one nation or another, from Egypt to Rome. You're talking about a lot of backstories, so that's a great place to start. But that's where I started. Exactly what's made me go back and realize I have so much work to do. I do want to know and I want to understand it. You're looking at all of these people. You're looking at Mary and Nicodemus and Simon and Peter, and you're seeing people living for themselves. Everyone is just going through life with the absence of Jesus, and now they have this choice. Will you follow Jesus? What will your life become if you do? In my 20s was a whole period of time where I was just living selfishly, and I put my relationship with God on the back burner. I could probably count on one hand how many times I went to church between the age of 18 to 25. In your 20s, you leave the house and you discover who you are as an individual, and you do all the wrong things trying to figure out the right things. If you don't have a relationship with God, you do feel empty inside, and I definitely felt that emptiness. I really relate to these characters because they're just going through life. They're searching for something, and they're trying to figure out what's missing. I'm so excited you guys are joining us for this journey, whether you've watched the show and you want to go back and watch it again, or you're just starting off the show because of this series. I'm so excited to watch it with you guys. I'm excited to see all of your comments about what spoke to you. Thrilled to share with you like how much meaning this show has brought into my life and has changed my relationship with Jesus, because now it's furthered my understanding and my thirst for understanding. Full format on YouTube, and then you can find little clips here on TikTok and Instagram. Bye guys.